Okay, our next group of questions is all about beach re-nourishment. Replenishment of Perdido Key beaches has been recommended by county or state officials, but has been delayed for various reasons, such as the need for property owner permission and funding availability. And the questions are, is beach replenishment one of your high priority items? What steps would you favor to expedite the process before the next big storm? And are you in favor of beach re-nourishment, even if it requires the use of eminent domain to develop and maintain?
Sure. I took an oath to swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. I believe that every single one of our rights is completely dependent upon the other ones. Folks, if they can take your land, you don't have any other rights. Eminent domain has no place in this discussion. I get a little emotional about that one. But having said that, beach re-nourishment on a beachfront community is as much as an important an infrastructure item as roads, ditches, gutters in any other community. It's kind of like that, do you believe in fiscal responsibility? Do you believe in beach re-nourishment? I live on the Key. I have waterfront property on the Key. I see how sand moves. Sand migrates across that island like nobody's business. This is not a nice to have, this is a must have. So let's look at why it has taken so long, and who could possibly be against beach re-nourishment? Folks, nobody's against beach re-nourishment. Now there's some arguments that, that's all private property out there, so, that's somebody else's, the people in Warrington shouldn't have to pay for that. It's everybody's beach, folks. And the economic engine that is Perdido Key supports everybody. So that argument doesn't make a whole lot of, doesn't really hold a lot of water. And I think if that argument is discussed out, I think that people come to their senses on it. So really, why have we had so much contention? It's not about beach re-nourishments, it's about the easements that have been forced upon the citizens. Easements that do not indemnify the property owners. You want to come onto my property and do some work, if you're a contractor, I'm going to expect something there that says indemnify and hold harmless. Because if your guy breaks a leg on my property, I don't want to have to pay for it. Okay? Indemnify, that's number one. Number two is that those easements started off being saying in perpetuity. Okay? Well, why does that have to be in perpetuity? How long does it take you to build a beach dune? I mean, are we out there with plastic pails? I mean, let's get this thing done. I'll give you an easement for how long it takes, but in perpetuity seems a bit extreme. And the answer that came back was, well, that's just what it has to be. That's what we were told by the people who are funding it. Well, federal government, state government, and we'll get back to that one. Hopefully we'll have another opportunity to talk about how the org chart and the democracy works. But the fact of the matter is, if we will present to the people an easement for only the period of time necessary to build those dunes and maintain them, specifically for that purpose, people won't be against it. So that's the second issue. The third issue and final is that if I live on the beach and you're going to build land in front of my land, I want some guarantees that you're not going to commercialize that property, that you will not change the fundamental makeup of our island by commercializing those newly built properties. If you put those three clauses in this easement, you will have a 95% or greater approval rating on it. And in fact, we can all have pretty much a kumbaya moment. That way, we've got all of our ducks in a row, and then we together go and we get the funding for it.
I think I got it. Well, we both agree that it needs to be done, and it is nourishment because it hasn't been done yet, so we can't exactly say re-nourishment. We're doing it in practically every county in Florida, so it should be done out here. I wish the word eminent domain did not have to be used because it has such a negative connotation to it. Could we change the language? It's a word that is used in our legal language, legalese, I guess. So trying to get around that word is difficult. The idea of indemnification, if we identify, and the county takes that responsibility, that's your tax dollars. So, you have to think about that too. So if somebody gets hurt doing this, that's the county that's going to have to pay for that. So we have to think about that issue also in that regard. So those are issues there. Also, as far as in not having a time limit on it, how often do we want to go through this? We don't want it to say that we are always, we want your land forever, but we have to think about this realistically. We don't want their land forever. We just want to get out there and put the sand back out there. We're not going to build hot dog stands out there. We're not going to build another piece of property out there. But I understand that the language has to be clear. But in 10 years or after another storm, we might have to do this again. So do we need to go through this legal process again? So we have to choose the words carefully. And I understand that, and that is for our legal staff to work out. So, there's a lot of issues that we as county administrators, we need to build the relationships with the citizens in order to get that done correctly. But it's the legal aspects of it that we need to work around. But we also need to include dune restoration in that when we talk about re-nourishment or nourishment of our beaches. Our dunes are sliding down also, and they need to be at a height of about 9 feet out there in order to protect us from a Category 2 storm. And they need to have vegetation on them. So that's another part of that process. So let's not forget about that. But let me just be clear. I am not for taking anybody's land. I am for choosing the words carefully, getting it done, but with the idea that it's not a one-time thing. It's going to have to be done over and over again. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is singular, and it concerns long-term development. And the question is, what is your view of the long-term development outlook for Perdido Key and the vicinity?
Well, we have a cap on development out here. And I see no reason to raise that cap. There's been so much talk about Perdido Key in that nobody wants it to become a Destin or Panama City. I'm with you on that. Absolutely not. There are citizens here who want a few more restaurants. Somebody said maybe a hotel. I'm willing to listen to that. I'm willing to listen to you as to what you want as residents out here. I've eaten out here a few times. I think you could use a few more choices. We would love to see the development. I'd love to see the road where it is more pedestrian friendly. If we can include that in development, to take a look at the road in that way. But citizen input is important to me, and that's why I think the time as a commissioner needs to have that time to come out here and speak to the citizens of Perdido and find out what is important to you. Thank you.
Another great question speaks directly to one of those big terms that has been used to describe me since the very beginning of this thing. And in fact, my opponent has used in a video of her own, calling me a no-growther. We do, in fact, have a building cap on this island, and we're at about 48% of it right now. That is to say that under the current regulations and everything that's currently in place, the population on the island can double without any further, with the current concurrency. Folks, if you put the 4-lane in, the only thing that dictates that is left, that dictates that building cap, is the 2-lane. If you put the 4-lane in, you've lost your last possible bulwark against rampant development on the key. Now, the reality of the key in terms of what's my long-term development plan, we'll get to my long-term development plan by my short-term development plan. We as the citizens worked very hard out here with Andres Duaney and the DPZ master plan. We went to the county and we insisted that we wanted a master plan in place. Putting a master plan in place takes power away from elected officials. How is that? Well, if the rules are set in stone, these are the rules, and everybody, whether you're my best friend or my worst enemy, plays by the same rules, then that's what you can and cannot do. We need to have a master plan in place that sets those rules for everybody, so that, again, no matter what no matter which direction the winds of favor start to blow, the rules are the rules, and they're the same for everybody. So in terms of short-term development, what we need to do, the only thing that was really wrong with the DPZ master plan, the process, what was right with it is it started with the people. It was the will of the people. And so for those that say, well, that's a state road, so that's FDOT's job. Guys, think about the chain of command in a democracy. You, the citizens, are at the top of the chain of command, not at the bottom of it. State of Florida, Escambia County does not dictate to you what you get in your neighborhoods. That starts and ends with you. Okay, so it is actually the TPO that has been pushing so hard, the Transportation Organization is pushing to get the FDOT to get this 4-lane out here. The problem is that we've only got 101 feet of right-of-way on the island. And 100% of that right-of-way is beach mouse habitat, even the part that's underneath the pavement. Okay? So you have to make a choice. Do you want a 4-lane or do you want a bike path? But you can't have both because there's only 101 feet there. The reality here is that the things that we have been wanting for so long, electric cart paths, bike paths, street lighting, traffic calming measures, all of these things have sort of been, these are incremental steps toward the community that we want, those of us who live here, something that would be beneficial to us, but all of these things have been held up hostage to some grand master plan for a 4-lane. Long-term development will continue on this island, but the development that has to continue on this island has to continue to protect our way of life and our wildlife. Those are two realities, and I think most people in this room, those are the things that brought you here instead of Panama City Beach, instead of some of the more developed beaches. Folks, we've got one of the last great diamonds. We're not a diamond in the rough. We're the place that hasn't messed it up yet. So we have got to look at our long-range planning over the next, especially now as the economy is coming back. Our long-range planning should have started. Andres Duaney said it very well himself when he said, you've still got an opportunity to not screw this up. And it should be noteworthy for those of you who don't know this, that when Andres was here, one of the most rapt listeners to the things that he had to say was our neighbors, Orange Beach. And their question was, how do we fix the mistakes that we've already made? Okay. We need additional lanes of travel in some areas. We especially need to understand that transportation on that island is not just vehicular. Folks, if you hire FDOT to make your travel plan, your plans, they're going to build roads. We need a neighborhood planner because we want a neighborhood. If you focus only on vehicular traffic, that's what you're going to get, and you're going to get a lot of it. If you focus on our way of life and development that benefits our way of life, and when I say our way of life, I am a Perdido Key property owner myself, live on the island, but that island isn't just for us. If you moved on to Gulf Beach Highway, I used to live in Shandell, and when people ask me where do you live, I said Perdido. Not Perdido Key, but Perdido. That is the community beach for this entire village out here. And we need to make sure that the development that we do focuses on our lifestyles, not just on continued tourism and continued development of economic opportunities for developers. Thank you very much.